what drives our vehicles forward and heats our rooms in cold winters, what keeps the huge factories running ceaselessly at high speeds. It all depends on energy. Today, we will take you into a new field to reveal how energy is driving the rapid development of China's economy and the challenges that must be overcome to keep the wheels of the country turning under pressure for the ever greater need for environmental protection. The Gobi Desert in northwest China. A group of engineers are searching for the enormous energy buried beneath the desert sand. Yuan Heshang is a veteran blasting engineer with 37 years of experience. Today, he and his team will use 1,418 tons of explosives to blow to smithereens a 38-meter thick layer of rock in an area the size of 5 football fields. At the same time, they must make sure that what goes up comes down in all the right places. The charges cannot be set off simultaneously, which would result in destructive seismic waves.
我们是这么大的炮区是500多孔，一次性起爆很可能几个地震了啊，那周围的房子肯定跟摇塌了。
The solution is to detonate the explosives in batches. There are 781 blasting holes, divided into 12 groups. Each group will be detonated less than 1/100th of a second after the previous group. To make this work, the blasting team needs electronic detonators. With an encoder, the operator can accurately control the ignition of thousands of electronic detonators in milliseconds. The blasting interval is set to 8 milliseconds. The blast time is set for just after 4 p.m. in the afternoon. The Chinese have invested billions of dollars to build facilities in this arid inland area beside the desert to produce this. The coal found here is of superior quality. While having a very high heat value, it contains less sulfur and is therefore less damaging to the environment. Today, coal is still the main energy that drives more than half of China's economy. This is one of the Opencast mines operating in China. The coal is of quality and the seams are very thick. Coal seams of over 15 meters in thickness are regarded as super high seams across the world, and the seams here are up to 30 meters thick. Of course, in order to mine this precious coal, the upper layer of rock needs to be removed. Before receiving the formal command of detonation, the blasting team has carried out the final checks on their electronic detonators through an encoder. By 4 p.m., the billions of dollars worth of equipment in the mining area have already been moved to safety.
好的。对，可是起飞吧。好的。8、7、6、5、4、3、2、1，起飞。
As usual, Yuan goes on his own to the blasting area to check on the results. It seems Yuan is quite satisfied with the result of today's blasting. After removing the gravel, a new coal seam reveals itself. Half an hour later, the smoke is cleared and the mining operations resume. The daily output of coal from this man-made canyon is over 100,000 tons. It could generate enough power to supply one modern family for 10,000 years. But it's just 1% of the daily output of China. Coal occupies the primary position in China's energy structure. Because of that, it is particularly important to use coal efficiently. One of the most efficient ways is to build large power plants near to the coal fields. This reduces transportation costs and keeps pollution to the remote areas far from the cities. The west of China has a substantial coal reserves, but it is very short of water, and that is a big issue when it comes to cooling these power plants. Zheng Wenlong, head of maintenance, is going to carry out a special project today. To build a thermal power plant in a desert was impossible in the past, because a traditional thermal power plant needs so much water for cooling. The boiler cannot operate without it. However, China has begun to build large thermal power plants in the desert because it has found a solution. The secret lies in these passive cooling towers, which do not use water. As the hot air rises from the top of the tower, cooler air is drawn in at its base over an array of radiators. Zheng Wenlong's job is to keep the radiators clean. He has to clean nearly 1 million square meters of radiators with the least amount of water he can. To achieve a better cooling effect, the 132 radiators are distributed in a V shape. As this type of passive cooling tower does not directly need large quantities of water, it is possible to build them in the desert. The east of China is home to just under 70% of the country's population and over 80% of its economy. However, most of the new energy resources are in the west, thousands of kilometers away. The energy transportation has been a problem for the country for quite a long time. China plans to build more large power plants around the coal fields of western China, convert coal into electricity, and then let the power grid carry it to the east. It is the largest energy transmission project in human history. Today, the project begins a new phase, the installation of the conductors. At the foot of pylon number 323, the linesmen are getting ready to join the conductors high up in the air. This is the world's longest and highest voltage power transmission line. It starts in the Zhonggar Basin in the far west of China and runs for 3,324 kilometers across deserts, mountains, canyons to the densely populated east. In 8 years, China has built more than 30,000 kilometers of high voltage lines to establish the world's largest energy transmission network. To increase the system's efficiency, the voltage needs to be raised. The 1.1 megavolt high voltage line is the highest in the world at present. It can transmit the energy generated by 80,000 tons of coal over a distance of 3,000 kilometers in a day. To ensure the transmission runs smoothly and efficiently, the 20,000 conductor joints have to be connected perfectly. The cables are connected by intense pressure. First, the outer aluminum wires are stripped back to expose the steel core. Then the two ends of steel core are inserted into a metal sleeve. A hydraulic clamp presses hard on the sleeve to hold the two sections of steel cable firmly together. After the steel core is joined, a larger sleeve is used to connect the outer aluminum wires. The procedure seems simple enough, but it's quite another thing to do it 100 meters up in the air with everything swaying in the breeze. The workers need to hold two ends of the cables carefully and avoid damaging the conductors while dealing with the 5-ton tensile drag on the cable. To manage this, they must use a special cable clamp.
先把保险打开，线放在这里面，它越拉越紧，越拉越紧。再把线放进去以后，把这个保险关起来。这边风比较大，平常我们挂线或者搭了5灯，它这个风吹起来，甚至去加了2灯、3灯、4灯都不止。它那个挂线的张力达到了10灯以上。好了，绳子再开一点，绳子带点力，好啊，把绳子带点力啊。慢一点啊，保持这个速度啊。
The job not only requires concentration, but also a head for heights. It will take 6 months to complete the new 3,324-kilometer line. And this is just the beginning. Several more are being planned to follow. Early November. A deep-sea engineering vessel is anchored off the coast of South China. The sea is calm, but Captain Jin Ruijian is not. He needs a storm, and he has already been waiting for 3 days. The new ship has been built at a cost of $200 million. The waters around China are greatly affected by the Western Pacific Ocean currents. These prevent divers from conducting deep-sea seabed operations. This ship has been built to deal with that challenge. Thus, to test the new ship's ability to work in rough sea conditions, Captain Jin's crew must wait for some strong waves. Historically, it has been very difficult for China to develop deep-sea oil and natural gas resources. Hopefully this will change if this new ship tests successfully. It depends on whether the advanced equipment on board function as intended. The expected wind and waves do not arrive. Captain Jin has to look for another storm.
按这个气象图看的话，今天到明天是风力的话4到5级，1.5米到2米的浪高，不太理想。我们需要2.5米左右的浪高来做试验。
The latest weather forecast leads the captain and the navigator to choose a new test area. After a night's sailing, the ship reaches its destination. As the sea gets up, the test commences. The key requirement for accurate underwater operations is that the equipment is stably maneuvered. In order to achieve this, the engineering ship has to remain in a fixed geographical position against the flowing currents and heavy seas. This is done by the approach power compensator system. When waves drive the ship off position, the compensator system instantly starts a corresponding thruster to offset the force of the sea. This keeps the ship in a steady position. However, when the ship rolls or is lifted by the waves, the thrusters alone are not sufficient. But this new ship has another piece of special equipment: the world's largest crane with an automatic height compensation system. The high-power crane is able to lift up to 400 tons. As the ship rises and falls in the swell, the crane automatically detects the speed and direction of the movement. It then reacts instantly to compensate for this by retracting or paying out its cable lines, or by turning its lifting arm.
他们来的响了，所以说那个就响了一下。
那我们现在调一下手相，好吧？因为这个方向摇摆不够。
我跟他们讲一下。
To make full use of this right sea conditions, the test must continue well into the night. Images from the underwater camera show the 400-ton test box only moves slightly despite the surging waves. It is well within the control range. Everyone is very pleased with the result.
我们都征求了他们的意见，这个补偿效果是完全接受的，完全接受的。
好的，谢谢，成功了，谢谢各位。
With the advance of deep-sea engineering technology, mankind has made a further step in acquiring resources from the oceans. The energy stored in the deep sea is beyond imagination. A research team departs by helicopter for an offshore platform. Two hours later, the team have arrived at their destination. Blue Whale 1, the largest deep-sea operations platform in the world. It has been in the sea for several months already. The flames show that it is working busily below the surface. The burn-off may look fairly normal, but in fact it represents a world first. China has become the first country to successfully mine fire ice from below the seafloor. Fire ice, also called combustible ice, is a common name for methane hydrate. It exists as a flammable solid in which methane is trapped in a crystal structure of water. Originally, it was assumed only to exist in the outer reaches of space, but it has been found to exist in extraordinary quantities on Earth, below the seabed. It forms the largest reserve of fossil fuel on the planet. However, extracting it is no simple matter. To date, reliable mining techniques have yet to be developed. A previous mining test only lasted for 12 days before it failed. The Chinese research team has made a key breakthrough in continuous and controllable mining of fire ice. The natural gas hydrate pilot production team have been mining for 60 days, a new world record. Having gathered extensive data, the team decided to stop the test.
报告业务指挥长，目前的观景程序已经准备就位。
我宣布，南海海域天然气水后试采工程关井。
报告指挥中心，报告指挥中心，油嘴管汇阀门已关闭。
The engineers switch off the valves. Their breakthrough in mining technology could have a profound impact on the future of energy production. The rapid development of China's economy demands more energy. The use of traditional fossil fuels will cause enormous environmental damage. China is making conscious efforts to increase the proportion of clean energy in its energy mix. water power will make an important contribution. This is the construction site of the Wudongde Hydropower Station. It is one of the 4 cascaded hydropower stations in the upper reaches of the Yangtze River. The excavation works have been completed to build a huge facility on the mountainside to take the giant hydraulic turbines. The workers now are casting concrete to build the dam. At the end of June, the usually hot, dry weather turns to continuous rainfall. This is bad news for Chief Casting Engineer Yang Ning.
即将浇筑的这个舱面是处于两岸陡坡坝段的汇水区，下雨天浇筑，这个地方所有的雨水都会通过边坡积到那个地方。假如说把这个舱淹了以后，那现场的质量可能就会控制不住。
The engineers are planning to cast a seamless concrete dam. Across the world, concrete fracture is a recognized technical bottleneck. The larger the project, the more serious the problem. There's an engineer saying that every dam has fractures. It will take 2.91 million cubic meters of concrete to cast the Wudongde Dam. The plan calls for a wall 275 meters high and between 12 and 51 meters thick. To withstand the pressure from up to 270 meters depth of water, the dam cannot have even the slightest fracture. The key to building a seamless dam lies in the continuous control system. The casting process has to go on continuously for 33 months without interruption. Yang must find a way to avoid the operation being blighted by rain as soon as possible. Yang faces a dilemma. If they cast in the rain could alter the composition of concrete. If the casting stops, the concrete components cast before and after the rain will not marry properly. To work through the rain, or wait for it to clear up. A decision has to be made. The rain is forecast to have cleared the area by the 29th. Yang Ning decides to start the operation as soon as it stops. By 8 in the morning, the wet weather has passed. "30 minutes later, the temperature-controlled concrete arrives on site.
我们在这个舱严禁在雨天浇筑，力保这个舱在今天下午2点到3点之中能够收舱，这样就保证我们这个混凝土能够不在雨天浇筑，切实保证我们混凝土和建基面的一个结合质量。
The heat generated as the concrete sets is the main cause of cracking. As the concrete has almost no malleability, and the internal and external cooling speeds are different, this uneven thermal distribution is what can lead to cracks. To build a seamless dam, the key is to achieve precise temperature control during the continuous casting process.
搞的时候啊，把这个地方冻住，知道吧？不要让它冻了，行吧？截面一定要保证，可以吧？
Yang has made a timely decision and has successfully avoided the bad weather. When the plant is completed, the mighty river waters will be harnessed to the grid. However, rich water resources are not found everywhere. The town of Delingha in the west of China is short of water, but has plenty of sunshine. The power of the sunlight and the number of hours the sun shines makes it an ideal site for solar arrays. The maintenance engineers have to get to work early in the day.
你把那个130、131画个预锥，我看它能不能起来。
The key components of the array are these mirrors. When sun rises over the Gobi Desert at 7 in the morning, more than 20,000 mirrors bounce the light with great precision to the top of a tower. The heat generated there is absorbed by molten salt, which takes the heat down into the plant, where water is heated into steam, which drives the turbines to generate electricity. This way of generating electricity does not consume any fuel or discharge any emissions. It is an ideal way of utilizing solar energy. There is one catch, though. The sun keeps changing its position. If the alignment of the mirrors is slightly off, there will not be enough energy to heat the salt atop the tower sufficiently. To solve this problem, China has developed a precise sunlight tracking system for this tower type of photothermal power plant. Controlled by a computer, the 20,000 mirrors reflect the sunlight to the top of the tower with unerring accuracy. The conditions of the region lend themselves to solar power general. But there's more than one ways to turn rays into volts. Not far away, another solar power plant, 10 times of its size, is under construction. It is a trough-type photothermal power plant. Unlike the tower-type power plant, it collects the heat of sunlight through curved mirrors. However, both systems rely on precise solar tracking. Therefore, Quality Control Manager Gu Wenshui monitors the installation of every trough concentrator. A trough concentrator is made up of perfectly curved mirrors. They track the sun under the control of computer. If a parabolic solar trough is not smooth, the reflected light will not be accurately focused. The installation must again be done to very precise tolerances.
通过这个精调以后，我们把每一个欧洲槽连成一个整体，我们就保证这个同步转动，左右高低差不能超过1毫米。
The area of each parabolic trough is 69 square meters. After installation is completed, the mirrors will be aligned to within less than 1 millimeter. This plant will have 9,120 solar troughs generating 50,000 kilowatts per hour. China's currently installed solar power capacity exceeds 70 million kilowatts, accounting for 1/5 of the world's solar generation capacity. More and more ways to utilize solar energy will revolutionize China's supply of clean energy. Its rapid development shows China's genuine determination to change its energy structure. But there are other emission-free energy sources to be tapped into. China is one of the nations that have taken the lead in seeking renewable energy from the wind. Giant turbines are a common feature of the landscape in many locations. Wind energy is often harvested more reliably at sea, but the harsh environment has posed serious challenges to the installation and maintenance of the turbines. Previously, wind turbine generators were assembled on land and then ferried to their operating sites by semi-submersible vessels for final erection. The process was costly, slow, and resource-intensive. Today, offshore wind is looking more and more like the future of wind power. Breakthroughs in installation technology will greatly reduce the cost. On the eastern coast of China, one of these new installation methods is still being trialed. To ensure tomorrow's trial runs smoothly, Operations Director Lu Pengyuan is working late checking all the equipment.
你这个，我问你一下，你这个纤维是机械纤维还是基础器啊？基础是机械的。机械是哪个地方？知道。这不知道了吗？这个不是你把那个找的哪个地方是这鞭毛机上能不能换一个调过来就可以知道了。
The new method depends on this newly developed tool. It can accurately set the angle of a blade at a height of nearly 100 meters, so that it is perfectly aligned to the rotor hub. If the machine works as it should, the cost of installing offshore wind turbines will halve. By 11 at night, the engineers have finished tweaking their setup. The following day, the crucial test will begin at 7 in the morning. Two hours later, a 50-meter-long, 20-ton blade is lifted to the hub. Now comes the tricky part. The crew needs to marry the blade's fastening bolts to the rotor hub, 100 meters up in the air, where the slightest breeze can push everything out of alignment. This is when the new clamping system comes into its own. It allows the operator precise control over the blade's position and connect it to the hub with pinpoint accuracy. Three hours later, the rotor blade is successfully installed. This new method of installation will dramatically reduce installation costs and put new wind in the sails of the offshore power generation industry. In China, the progress of science and technology drives energy development, and a mixed-source energy policy is the outcome. On a remote peninsula in eastern China, the most advanced nuclear power unit in the world is being prepared to be put into operation. The nuclear reaction releases enormous heat. This is used to turn water into high-pressure steam, which drives the generators to generate electricity. The core of a nuclear power plant is the reactor unit. This nuclear power unit is built to the world's highest safety standards. Before it starts operations, many and repeated safety inspections have to be completed. The engineers test a 3-story high safety door. It is made of special metals and manufactured with aerospace technologies. Like the safety door, nearly 1/3 of the components in the plant are built with the ultimate goal of safety. This 10-meter deep pool and the reaction chamber next to it are at the business end of things.
这次我们可以近距离接触它，以后估计没有机会再这么近距离的接触它了。以后因为它带有放射性。
In due course, the pool will be filled with pure desalinated water. The installation and replacement of the fuel rods will take place here.
前方是我们的 AP 线核电。 最为核心的地方，核反应堆。
南中，你们要下来吗？
对，要下来。将来发电运行的时候，所有的电量的能量，源源不绝的来自这里。
The last round of inspections will soon be completed. The nuclear fuel has long been ready in the fuel bin. Before loading, they are stored at the highest level of security. More than 100 fuel units, sufficient to drive the plant, are already in the fuel bin. Below this floor lies stockpiled the most powerful energy source mankind has yet been able to harness properly. Its energy density is 2.5 million times that of coal.
马上要装料了，我们今天做一个装料前的模拟演练。第一个是检查系统设备的状况，把我们系统设备调整到地面状态。
The mechanical arm grasps the nuclear fuel assembly. Each is composed of 264 metal tubes filled with nuclear fuel. Before the startup, they are not radioactive. The operation is repeatedly rehearsed for 4 hours a day to make sure that, when the plant starts work for real, everything will run like clockwork. Nuclear plants run on nuclear fission, the energy released by splitting atomic particles. The energy released is extremely powerful, but it also creates dangerous radioactive waste. The sun, by contrast, generates energy through nuclear fusion, with none of this radioactive waste. Scientists have long dreamed of being able to emulate this. On July 5, 2017, Chinese scientists released a 100 seconds of video which amazed the world scientific community. The video shows an experiment in which Chinese researchers managed to achieve a temperature of 50 million degrees, sufficient to overcome the barriers to fusion reaction. But no known material on the Earth can handle even 1/10,000th of such a temperature. What kind of vessel could contain such a high temperature reaction? The answer is a magnetic field. The coil enters a superconducting state at low temperatures, producing the strongest magnetic field on the Earth. In this can float the materials for a fusion reaction suspended in the air.
这是我们正在加工制造的超导磁体，到时候超导线穿就会在这里面，会冷到零下269度，在那里将是自然界中最高的温度，上亿度的胆离子体，所以在这个非常狭隘的这个空间里面，对这个装置的建造来说是非常非常的困难。就是我们在胆离子体物理研究在世界上走在最前列的。我们在聚变工程，我们掌握了很多的核心技术，我认为这是我们中国人的骄傲。
Nuclear power, though controversial, is still, in its various forms, the great hope for an endless, reliable, and clean source of energy. Natural renewables will also have their place in meeting the demands of tomorrow, while the problems of today are ingeniously managed in the sparsely populated deserts of the West. The search will go on for a better future, in which needs are met and waste is eliminated. It is a clean green future to which China is committed with all its energy.